This video is sponsored by Loop Elements Pro. Make all your loops great again and do it with 10% off at the checkout. Enter the coupon code that's down in the description and in the comment section. All right, let's get into this video.
The first time I ever played for a gospel artist like Donnie McClurkin, say for instance. So
Wow.
we was at my grandfather's church. We just do what we do. He just happened to come. My uncle brought him in, and then we ended up playing for Donnie McClurkin. Just his churchy stuff.
Wow.
And it just so happened that way. And then as time got older, then he remembered that, and then he asked us to play for him.
Wow.
Go on the road with him. You know what I mean? That's how it happens.
Wow. So do you think that, so in your mind in that point, was that like the path that you were kind of seeing that you were wanted to go? Or does it like, when you look back on it, it's like, oh man,
well, it's more of a path that I wanted.
You wanted. Yeah.
I wanted. But like I said, it's something that happened in perfect timing.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? In perfect timing. And then, you're ready for it because you worked hard to be ready. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so where you can create that thing, you learn and you glean for what you see. Yeah. And then you create something. You create something where you're at.
Yeah.
And then you build on that.
That's good.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then when it's your time, then you're ready. But in most cases, you're still not ready because it's some certain things that artists look for. But then, always having a posture to learn. Always have a posture, to learn more and more and more. Because a lot of times guys, because they get the call, they feel that they arrive. That don't mean you arrive.
Yeah, that's so good.
I never forget Donnie. Donnie used to always beat me up. He would always say, he would give us the fist if we didn't know a song or whatnot.
They say that Donnie and Richard and all those guys are like the OG gangsters.
Yeah, they would, and then they'd be like, these young kids don't know nothing. And now, it may feel embarrassing, it may sound embarrassing, but I took it as a learning opportunity. All right, well, let me when we come off the road, let me go home and research what I don't know, and then practice.
Wow. And it's a different time back then because we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You couldn't just go pull up a YouTube link and listen to it. You had to go find, you had to really go study, find those records, really understand what they were saying.
Absolutely.
Now we just pull up a Spotify playlist.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We had the tapes and we had to like rewind the tapes. You know what I'm saying? In order to and you had to press rewind, stop, rewind, stop, rewind to actually like get in there and do it.
And so even in those moments, it prepared me for moments like now in my career, in my musicality. It's almost like there's a song that I can't pick up.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because and I don't mean that arrogantly.
Yeah. No.
It has trained my ear to listen to melody first. Melody is always first.
Yep.
Everything else is secondary. So there's no song that I cannot, really pick up and play. You know what I mean?
Because you understand that.
Because I understand that framework. Melody first. So if I can hear a melody one time, maybe 1.5 times.
Yeah.
And I got it.
That's so good. So speak to one thing I want you to speak to, because you've had such an illustrious history of working with some of the greatest, not some of, all of, just pretty much, I don't think there's not too many artists that you haven't done something, especially like the artists that are artists in our industry. You know what I'm saying? I know there's a lot of independent, you work with a lot of independents as well, but I know there's a lot, you've worked with the greatest, from Donnie to Judy to all of them. Like you're still working with these guys and these guys in the industry. What do you say is the posture for that? Like, how do you how have you navigated that throughout the years? I mean, because I know that's a lot of responsibility, that's a lot of understanding. Of course, you worked to get into those positions, and you have rightfully earned those, earned that path because you etched it out. But to the people that are watching, that like, these are the up and comings, the young kids, the young cats, the young bulls, the whatever you want to put in that space. Like, what are those things that you see? What are those bits of advice that you give them and say, these are the key points. These are the things that you need to be locking in on, be working on.
When you working with people like those type of people, let me see how I can word it, because a lot of times we get ourselves in scenarios where we feel like we are somewhat irreplaceable. And it's like, yeah, we got the gig on lock, we got the gig down pat, but it's like at a certain point, like every gig that I've done, every record that I've worked on, the person I played for, you know, everybody is looking. I don't want to say everybody's looking for the next great, but the truth of the matter is, there's always going to be someone greater than you. There's going to be someone that brings something to the table that you didn't think to bring to the table. Not to say that you couldn't,
Right.
but it's just the circle of life starts to really kick in when you dealing with the younger versus the older. And so me being a 48-year-old man at this particular time, yes, I'm grateful to still be working. However, most of the artists that I've worked with, I don't really work with them anymore. I don't, and it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But younger generation comes up, they're able to approach it from a different angle, and that's perfectly fine. But it puts you in a posture. When I was coming up, the older generation didn't really like pour into you. They was just like, okay, I'm still the head joker. I'm still,
HNIC.
And so and it's like, okay, well, I get that, but I want my opportunity too. We all want our opportunity. That's and so a lot of times it's like, I know for me, my opportunity came from.
Today, I want to introduce to you Loop Elements Pro. This represents a very innovative new way of using loops. And guess what? It's standalone, not only as a plugin, but it's also standalone outside of the DAW, which means you can now use Loop Elements in your live performance. This isn't just a plugin. It's the ultimate tool for creatives and producers. Whether you're layering loops, creating click track, creating beats, building arrangements, soundscapes, Loop Elements Pro gives you the power to create without limits. Loop Elements Pro is now available. Go get it now.
My opportunity came from doing my own thing. In terms of, if somebody wanted to work with me, like I would work with somebody that wasn't really too known. We did our thing, and then we made our scenario known.
Yes.
And then here comes the prominent people.
Yeah.
They're doing their thing.
Because they heard what y'all were doing.
Because they heard what we were doing.
We want that sound.
Yeah.
We want that.
And so I believe that particular that particular thing happens, it's just a circle of life.
Yeah.
It's just a circle of life. I think what happens is some people hoard whatever that situation, they hoard it versus letting it go and then imparting it to the next.
That's good.
But letting them take it to the next level. There's a young guy out of Baltimore. He plays. His name starts with a Z. Zance. I forget.
Zion.
Yeah,
I know you're talking about
yeah,
Barnes. Last name Barnes. That's my kid. That's my guy.
So I met him today, right?
Yeah.
Like in person today, and hugged him up.
Yeah.
Because I actually enjoy what he does. You know what I mean? He's like very phenomenal.
Oh, he's a monster.
And so I just told him, I said, hey man, you just keep doing you. Like you keep doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I said one of the things I can say that you kind of remind me. I told him you kind of remind me of me when I was younger, because like when I was playing, the era was like a the gangster era. Like he wore the big baggy, big baggy clothes, and the braids. I remember. Yeah. So we was doing all of that. So now this era, they're doing the fedora hats. They're doing the shades. Yeah. And they're doing it, and they're doing their thing. And so I just told him, I said, man, you continue to do what you're doing, but always have a posture to learn.
I love it.
Always have a posture to receive good criticism. I said, because you'll go far. Yeah, you'll go far if you take that mindset. And he took it, and he's like, man, I appreciate that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, guys aren't really looking for how to play in terms of being advanced, because they're already advanced. But they're looking for for lack of a better term, the validation. You know what I mean? Like, am I doing right? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And some guys are. Yeah. Some guys are. You know what I mean?
Some need to feel that. They need to have. I think like what I was talking to someone today about this. It's the aspect of this generation. One of the things they've lost is like kind of like the mentorship. You know what I'm saying? Like we came up in that era, like you said, we was at where it was always mentors. There was always some OG musician or some OG cat that was in that place that we were trying to get to, and we sought that validation from them, because we like, yo, if such and such say I'm good, right? I know I'm doing it. If he let me on the organ, if I don't get slid off when when I'm playing, when this out, then I know I did it right. I know I'm good. So do you feel like that's that element? Because like you said, they're seeking that validation.
A lot of times in that regard, some guys never experienced that happening. I've experienced it.
Yeah, I have.
And so
went home crying. Right.
But I never took offense to it.
Absolutely.
Because, I always had a mindset of, okay, well, why is he kicking me off? Is there something that I didn't do right? Obviously, I didn't know it.
Yeah.
But, I always took the attitude of, show me that. What was it?
Yeah, what I missed.
Yeah, what did I miss? And of course you don't do it while in service.
Yeah.
When church is over, you be like, can you show me what was that I missed?
That's so good.
Oh yeah, so this is what you didn't do. You play this, that's what it was. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I say now there's not a melody that I can't catch. Now, because
you cultivated that.
I cultivated early.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so not a church service that I can't cover.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it ain't
that's
necessary.
Not arrogance. That's just
it ain't
that's knowing your craft.
Right.
That's knowing your craft.
It's not necessarily about playing bumps all the time. Like, I mean, anybody can play bumps, but when I in service, there's not a moment that I can't catch. Because number one, I understand sensitivity
Yeah.
I know what it means to be sensitive in
the
certain moments, and I know how to flow in certain moments. Number one, because um, I cultivated the the hymnals, learning hymnals throughout my tenure of playing, and then now not just to play a hymnal, but to know what hymnal to play in a certain setting.
That's so good.
You know what I mean?
That's really good. I love that.
Yo, thank you for watching that exclusive clip from the Hangout podcast. We drop these on the channel on Wednesdays, and we appreciate you guys for taking out the time and watching this. If you're interested in seeing more of these exclusive interviews that we have, make sure you check out the playlist over here. If you're interested in taking your production, mixing, or whatever to the next level, make sure you hit the links down below in the description. All right, we'll talk to you guys on the next one. I'm out. Holla at your boy.